Oh, shoot. Okay. Starting it. My name is Olga Mandodari. So I do healing designs, and so it's almost 20 years. And Swami Sita is an amazing support of mine, and I'm so happy when I come here because this is all I want in my life, to share this knowledge with you. It's about 15,600 years old teachings. And my guru was Dr. Ganapati Sthapati. He was from Tamil Nadu. It's Dravidian culture, very ancient, and he spoke Tamil. So he was convinced that Dravidian language is older than Sanskrit. And he even would tell stories how fishermen pulled the fish in the net from the ocean, and the first palm leaves were captured. And so they started basically digging and looking around. And so they have a lot of palm leaves and ancient Tamil language about this teachings about how to build, construct, and design temples, palaces, and houses for people. So the key part of these teachings is to create a healing space for people, in the sense, not only physical healing, but also spiritual healing. So here we have squares. Unfortunately, people online, they don't see it, but we have squares, and I'll explain what it is. So for many years, I would present lectures here. I would prepare myself months, digging ancient scriptures, putting together, and a lot of people would be touched. But as we discussed with Swami Sita, people walk away and forget about it. So I thought this workshop, we will make it hands-on so you could experience something for yourself. So to be short, just essence of Vaastu Shastra, as I said, is healing. So how house can be healing? So we'll start from the beginning. The whole space, according to Dravidians, is built up from tiny little cubes of energy, not circles, not spheres, cubes. And they call paramanu, para, super, atom. And I'll talk in detail, I'll show you dimension actually of this. So according to the Shastras, you cannot divide paramanu into smaller particle. It's not atom, it's not neutrino, it's invisible to human eye particle of consciousness. So universe exploded, Big Bang, and explosion came from the source. Simple word God, but we would say Parabrahman. So Parabrahman exploded and multiplied itself in the universe, and multiplication came out from the source, divine source, in little cubes. So these little cubes are tiny bricks of the universe, and it's particles of consciousness. So they are all in us, in our heart chakra, so-called Atman, Jivatma, whatever you want to call it. So it's a tiny cube of consciousness, divine. That's why it says we're built in the image of God. And so we actually vibrate and emit energy all the time. And so according to these teachings, we can calculate your energy mathematically. For that, we employ Jyotisha, Vedic astrology, and of course, mathematics and architecture. So the key for these teachings is to create space which will resonate with you specifically, or also with members of your family, and it will resonate with absolute. Absolute is this divine consciousness. It has its own frequency of vibration. And as my guru, he basically exploded my mind when in 2005 I was studying from him because I had no clue about this. And so it was like an incredible discovery for myself, which shook my entire core when I found out, about structure of the universe. That is all divine, this is consciousness. So we're floating in the ocean of consciousness. So all our universe is actually alive, Every single particle is alive, and it's a particle of consciousness. All neutrinos, all that stuff is coming out from vacuum, which is, according to these teachings, is not empty, but it's a field of luminosity. This luminosity are these tiny little particles of consciousness, and they vibrate. And that's also divine thought. So we do exactly the same. So when we think, we create energy field around us, which is vibrating. That's why in yoga, in ashram, you're taught to think positive because your frequency of vibration changes. So the houses, Vaastu houses, when we build according to the teachings, they actually go into resonance according to physical dimensions applied, that's why you see here squares, to the house. So what happens? How do we build this house? What is this all about? Well, number one, I just wanted to show, I have a very simple book. It's called Your Happy House, Illustrated Vaastu Shastra. You can purchase at the boutique here. It's an illustrated, beautiful book in a simple way, because I was asked by Ashram, Sivananda Ashram, can you create something simple for people so they could just understand? But it's not that actually, it took me 2 years to put this simple book together, and I'll touch base on certain pages here. So this is available if somebody would like to know a little bit more, because it has a lot of tips, where to sleep, which direction to sleep, where to sit and do your mental exercises, work at home if you have workplace. So let's go back to the basically the house, healing house, what that is. So I ask my clients when they would like to create a healing space for themselves. Not everybody will build a house. That's okay. I have something else for you. But anyway, if somebody would like to build a house or a little shed, and maybe somewhere in you have a property in the forest or whatever, some summer place with even a garden shed would be a Vaastu. So what we do, we take your time, place of birth, so that we will calculate and find your birth star. It's called nakshatra in Jyotisha. In simple words, nakshatra is the frequency of vibration coming from the space, from specific constellation. And at the moment of your birth, your mother delivered you, so you exited a field of energy of your mother and you're on your own. So you had before absolute vibration in the frequencies of eights. So universe vibrates with frequencies of eights. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And it stops for a very small short time, and then it goes again. So it's called absolute vibration. It's equivalent of one, basically when you close your eyes for a second and open it up. So blinking of your eye is 8 frequencies of the universal vibration. So when you're born, you have this angelic vibration, you're divine. And then you become human as soon as you're born. And then you acquire slightly different vibration, because from space, we have so much coming down on the planet Earth, a lot of different frequencies. So they look at the constellation, and the moon is moving. It's a kind of a direction where the moon is. So that vibration is coming out from that constellation, hits your energy, and sets up your vibration for this lifespan, for this time. When you live life, that's your vibration. So we find that. And plus, that angle in their universal space could be divided into 4 parts. It's called pada. So we look also which pada, where exactly the energy was coming at that seconds of your moment of your birth. And so, and then there are sounds in ancient scriptures applied to each pada. In total, there are 108 sounds, 27 nakshatras, constellations, each has 4 padas. So 4 by 27, 108, that's your that's sacred number. So there are 108 sacred vibrations charging people at the moment of the birth. So they have their own qualities, and that's why we have different characters. And it happens because we decided to do something special in our life. So we choose that. So when doctors try to inject to speed up birth because they scheduled every woman to deliver. That's so bad because when basically destroying karma. So that is not good. So we need to allow nature to take care of itself. So we find your vibration because we know the sound, and mathematically there are formulas. We start calculating according to specific set of formulas. Perimeter of the building, which will be in resonance with you, with your partner, sometimes with children, but most of the time it doesn't work like children and parents, children go. So basically for partners, we can do that. And so we know the numbers and we multiply, we call it Ayati number of frequency of vibration on this dimension. So right hand, middle finger, that's why people flip it, because they actually insult the universe when you flip this finger. So it has a deep meaning, so don't flip it, because you're insulting divine. Because this dimension, right here in the middle, it's called angula, angula. So this dimension, I didn't bring, I have an instrument which has golden ratio in it. So I measured, most people have golden ratio between this dimension and your forehead, golden ratio. Plus, I will show you something even more exciting a little later. So basically, we have this dimension. We multiply 24 times angula, which is given in the scriptures. Of course, everybody has slightly different, but there is one very important one. So we use that dimension. We calculate perimeter of the building, height of the building in modules. So the module is 1/9 of Vaastu Purusha mandala. So mandala is 9x9 grid pattern. So for that reason, I wanted to show you here a diagram. So in this book, yes, it's like a picture of a human being, and there are squares here. So in 2000, so it was a National Geographic publication, and it was a British guy, I'm sorry, guy from Netherlands, 2014. He discovered that he was a neuroscientist, so he discovered if you zoom in with the incredible magnification electron microscope into the neural system and the neurons, he found they intersect under 90 degrees, period. Looks like a mess when we look, yeah? But if we zoom in, only 90 degrees. And he said, I can't explain why, but if you look at the monkeys, same thing, rats, same thing, even worms, having a very simple structure in neurons, also like a ladder, he said. I even emailed him asking dimension. He replied to me, he said, it depends on the biological structure. So the point is, this Vaastu Purusha mandala in ancient scriptures is a grid pattern, 90 degrees lines intersecting. That's a pattern of divine vibrancy. So our universe, because it's made from cubes, that's why there are squares. That's why neurons intersect on the 90 degrees, because we're mimicking the structure of the universe, even in our biological level. Okay, so there are so many things I found in the correlation from modern science linking to the ancient wisdom. So when we know all these dimensions, when calculated, I can even design a house. And there is one house here on the property designed exactly according to Vaastu Shastra. And the woman, her name is Mahalakshmi, she lives in that house and she feels very good. And then online, if you're interested, Swamiji could send you a link, or I could send you a link. We have even a workshop we went to, and it was under construction, and we described the essence of this house, what is important. So the house will be built according to the sacred dimensions, proportions. It will resonate with the universe and it will resonate with you. So what does it mean for us as humans? It means that we will get uplifted with our own vibration to the universal vibration. We'll go into resonance. So what is this resonance for us? It is that emotionally and spiritually, we have more abilities to evolve. So house is actually supporting you and bringing you to this higher vibration. But you have to work, of course, by yourself to spiritually to grow. But the house, if it's built not according to this natural law, will actually drain your energy. But we should not be afraid of it because most of the houses are not built according to this teaching side at this point, especially in the United States. So we live in Kali Yuga. So people think, oh my God, what am I going to do? I have a house. If I could evaluate, house is shifted. No? So what am I going to do? You cannot shift house according to cardinal directions. That's how it's supposed to be. Then I found out through my experience that people choose houses with their specific tasks. Yes, maybe it's not according to Vaastu Shastra, but you can do some changes. But that's okay. So there is nothing to worry about. Yeah. So you just do your dharma to continue, but having this knowledge, things will basically speed up in your life, and it will change to the moment when you are totally aware where you would like to live, how you would like to live. So the abilities will come for you to have a good house. So in ancient times, it was a rule. There are different scriptures. And for example, in one I found it says, if the architect called Sthapati, which is Sanskrit word for architect, would practice Shastras, but would not have a good knowledge, practical knowledge, he is not good for construction and design. If Sthapati architect knows how to build, but he's very weak in his theoretical knowledge, he didn't study well the science, he cannot do that either. And they said if they still do it, he should be killed. Can you imagine? Should be killed. And I was like, oh my God, so many architects should be killed here, and especially construction people, developers who care less, they just all them on money, right? Not all of them, but yeah. So, but this is kind of, but why they were so careful about it? Why they were so strict? Because imagine if you outline the entire town, not according to the energy flow, not according to this life energy which is floating and it has its own proportions, rivers of energy, you're putting your house across. So it's difficult. So people will struggle, and then the whole city. That's why city planning was also according to Vaastu Shastra. So if you start looking at all the cities, and I did this lecture years back, and evaluated some Chinese, Japanese, ancient cities, they were all aligned according to cardinal directions. So I looked at some palaces, and they are not in France, no, in Rome, no. So that's why I have so many troubles in their lineages. So Peter the Great, and the last Tsar of Russia was killed, executed. So it's not because the house was bad in health, but actually it pushes people if there is the shift, for example, 45 degrees. So let's say this is north and the house is under 45 degrees to cardinal directions. It's called Vedic, but it could be a shifted northeast, which is not good, but it's better. Then the front entrance would face southeast, because it's fire. So fire zone, so people fight there and cannot be at peace. So if entire city is shifted like this, there is no peace for people. They cannot live there happily. There will be a lot of crime and a lot of disturbances. So it's hard. That's why they knew that. So they would build according to this ancient teachings. And they basically, Ganapati Sthapati was telling me, Brahmarishi Mayan, this ancient architect, he lived in the submerged continent, some Dvipa, I don't remember the exact word, and so it sunk about 18,000 years ago. So the Bible has this actual information as well. And so they came from south to India, from the sunken continent, and spread the knowledge. So like Russian language has more than 3,000 Sanskrit words. So things like that, we're all interconnected. So let's now move to what we're going to do here. So we have squares here, right? So let me show you something else. I'm not sharing. I thought I'm sharing. Yes. Okay, so I'd like to share the screen. Yes. Let's go here. Yes. She's here. Okay, so that's the book. Yeah. So perfect. And so that is about the book, but now I wanted to show you something else here. This. So this is a slide from my presentation, which I'm going to give on July 6th here. And let me see if I have. Just one second. Oh, no, that's right. So let's go back here. This one. Oops. Just one second. Yeah, I have to have this one. Yeah, let's do this slide show. I want from this slide. From current slide. Current slide. Okay, so I brought up this slide because this is from scripture. And it shows, it's Manasara Mayamatam, like well-known compiled scriptures about how to build this house. It's translated from Sanskrit into English. So this table actually explains how from this tiny little particle of energy of consciousness, we can come up to this dimension. So they would multiply 8 times this tiny little Paraman, receive a dimension. And they have names, and their names they are given to these dimensions. So if we will do this several times, and the last one would be angle. This is angle. So multiply 8 times, and we take that dimension, multiply itself 8 times again, 8 times, 8 times, 8 times, 8 times. So we get to this. So then I have a friend. He came at the same year in 2004 to India, to 2005, to study from Ganapati Sthapati. His name is Harold Machner. They're from Austria. So his wife was an architect, so we were in the group. And he said, he emailed later to Dr. Ganapati Sthapati, to me and some other people. He said, I don't know why, but I took speed of light and divided into 2. Then I, whatever was left, divided it into 2 again, and he continued this 33 times. And he said he received unbelievable. He said it's just unbelievable. So he's like, what do you think about it? I don't know, but this is what I found. So years later, I was still thinking about it, and I was like, oh my God, we are in direct proportion to the speed of light with the sacred dimension. So, but then nobody knows exactly what the size of Paramanu is. So I thought, okay, if we found a dimension, because there are several angles in ancient scriptures, and they're a little smaller and a little bigger. So a little bigger goes, and they use temple construction for Brahmins, houses for Brahmins, for kings, for Shudras, working class. It would be another dimension. But this dimension is kind of unique, and that's what Dr. Ganapati Sthapati gave me. So it's 1 inch and 3/8 of an inch. Yeah? So that is the angular from ancient scriptures. So I took that and I paid ChatGPT to calculate from this dimension to Paramanu. So I received a dimension for Paramanu, and it's right there mentioned. So what they would do with these dimensions, see, we have several multiplications here. So sometimes they would use they would use a smaller unit of measurement for jewelry, for chair, for bed. So it's not only house can be built according to this beautiful theory, but also your chair where you sit, whatever you wear, because it's resonating. So any object what we have has energy. And so even if we look in the microscope, we will see there is basically, if we drill down, we see only vibrating energy. That's it. So anyway, I could talk for 3 more hours. Let's use this, what is here. So we have some time left, sorry. So what I wanted to say I'm just going to share another slide. Okay. Okay, so this is calculation of the sacred dimension for you guys. So whatever we're going to do right now, so house could be rectangular, could be square, okay? So I took Swami Shivanandaji Nakshatra, and because it's Shivananda Ashram, so his vibration is here. And so I took his nakshatra and I used in the calculation. There is nakshatra or birth or star constellation called Revati. Revati is the very last one. It has all static or divine qualities. So if we don't know your birth time, then we use this nakshatra Revati for construction because it will resonate with you and with the cosmos. So I took nakshatra Revati in this calculation and I received a dimension this square. So we're going to make the experiment now. Now you can all move in your square and I will give you dimensions. So it is, so in centimeters is 966 centimeters and 55 hundredths. So if we will do it in inches, then it was 42 inches and 932s. Okay, this is what I calculated. So this is it. So now we can all sit down in this square and I will ask Julia. She's going to lead a very special meditation because you're going to sit now in the sacred square. You can move your little say, okay, good point. East is that way. So we're going to face east. Sit down inside. You don't have to put all your other belongings because it's also energy, but you just put your mat and no jackets, you know, the less you have inside, the better. So it's only you, okay? So now I'm going to give Julia, she is doing regressions, and she studied according to Dolores Cannon, different modalities, how to bring you to peace with, she has a bachelor's degree in psychology. And also she's my daughter. So I'm so happy Swami Sita invited both of us. So. I hope you had a good experience. And I would like to explain now about the square. And who is online, unfortunately, we couldn't record that, but if somebody would be interested later on, you can request from Sivananda Ashram, and I will basically help you guys to calculate your personal healing dimension. So here you're sitting in the square, and who's online, they don't see it, but we basically taped right on the floor squares. Number one, why did we do square? Because according to the ancient teachings, square is this cube in 3D, but of course cross-section is a square. So a square is the building block of the universe, a tiny little particle of consciousness. That's why a house is built according to the teachings. If they're square, they're perfect. But we can do also rectangular. And so there is special rationale how to extend the house from square to into rectangle. So anyhow, for meditation, we suggest the best form is a square because it's total peacefulness. So when the universe is at peace, when we are at peace, our actually little point of energy, because it's so tiny, is a cube. As soon as somebody starts talking to us, we kind of wake up mentally, and what happens inside of that little cube of energy in Jivatma, string of light appears. And that string of light is Shiva, consciousness. So before it was like total peace, that's what yogis are trying to do. They're trying to bring you with different techniques of meditation, pranayama, diet, to that sensitive state when you can actually calm down your mind to the point where your little cube in sacred dimension. But as soon as you start thinking, the string of light appears like a lightning, and it starts vibrating. That's called basically a dance of Shiva. That's why Shiva is depicted as a dancing. So that light is started vibrating, dance, and the cube started shifting and spinning along this axis of consciousness. In architecture, it's called Brahma Sutra, Brahma, divine consciousness or created, and Sutra line. So every building has its own Brahma Sutra or consciousness, string of consciousness. That's why you cannot put their bathrooms, walls, same string of consciousness we have, because we have this our house where we host, where actually this tiny little particle of light resides. So when you start thinking immediately through your spine, you have a line of consciousness appears, a light string, and you start spinning. So we say when we are thinking hard a lot, we say my mind is spinning. Do we say, or we say my head is spinning, right? I'm tired. You're actually physically spinning on the subconscious level. So your energy is spinning and you're emitting waves of light energy because you emit the same exact energy as you are. So we feel that universe with our own energy like a big Paramatma, same Jivatma is doing the same thing. That's why we can sense when people feel down or they're happy or they're at peace. We sense this energy because we are energy. So we receive these waves of energy going through us, and we know if somebody is sad or upset or happy because there are different frequencies. Even if you sit in a cubicle somewhere in the office, you don't know what is behind you, what the person is doing, but you can sense. You can sense because the waves of energy are going through. So the walls are not actually the stopping point. So that's why when my guru was asked how to design a house, if it's a multi-story building with many apartments, how can we make it peaceful? Because in all the times they didn't have this high rises. Yeah, people built little huts and they lived on earth peacefully. So he would say, if this is possible, the walls between apartments, they should have some space, because nobody builds like this. Why would you have space? Because he said that space by itself is consciousness. So it's pure consciousness. If we would leave at least a little distance between two walls, and we don't have to fill it up with anything, just space, then it's kind of like divine insulation. So whoever is screaming in the apartment next to you, it's not going to affect you as much. I mean, it's there, of course, you can hear sounds, but still it's not as dreadful for your own energy. So that's why he explained to me, if anybody will go to India, at the south point of India, called Kanyakumari, there are two rock islands. One is for Vivekananda Memorial is built, and another one is a tall monument, Tiruvalluvar. So Tiruvalluvar was an ancient poet, philosopher, and Dr. Sthapati was fortunate to be picked as an architect and built that monument. So he was the one who built Tiruvalluvar monument according to Vaastu Shastra. And he said, Madam, only scaffolding took a couple years to build because they used only natural materials, and stone was carved from the continent and also from the rock where the monument is standing. So he said, I left the central part of the monument empty for the divine energy to vibrate there, consciousness. And he said, when tsunami came, everything was damaged on the shoreline, but the monument withstood. And he said, Madam, tsunami certified my monument. Why? Because the main engineer from land is supposed to certify his monument. He did not get a permit. He said, no, sir, you didn't build with, reinforcement, concrete and all that. He said, Ganapati said, I couldn't because I wanted to create according to ancient Shastras, because this is a poet, this is a symbol of our old kind of divine history of India. So I couldn't do it. I could not mess it up with any concrete. So it's all rock on rock here. So anyway, when the tsunami went through, monument didn't even crack, nothing happened. And so then the engineer signed the release, and so the monument was opened for public. So he was so proud of the tsunami certified monument. It withstood so incredible force of energy of the ocean. So this, if so the reason why I put the squares, I calculated. So what we can do potentially, if somebody is interested in the Sivananda ashram, if you, nobody is, I said, building a house, or some people only, and not everybody can. It's expensive, right? So what we could do, we could calculate according to your energy, your vibration square. So what we could do, we take a sacred dimension, measure unit of energy, which I know, right? And I will calculate for you according to special formulas, this square when you could meditate. You can make a rug for yourself, make sure that if you use cotton, pre-shrink it, so wash it and dry it, and make a rug for meditation. Yeah, I have a structure also. I was thinking about it, and I was like, how can I do something for people so somebody could benefit from the ancient teachings and create structure for meditation? So I called it Vaastu Meditation Vimana. Why did I call Vimana? Because in ancient architecture in India, Vimana is actual architectural term where deity resides. It's a shrine. So it's a sacred of the sacred. So in the base, it's always a square, then it's a cube, and then it's a pyramid. So why pyramid? I asked my teacher, why do we have pyramid? Why is it just not sloped roof? Maybe it's flat. He said, no, madam, it has to be pyramid because a pyramid by itself representation of emotion, which is coming out from the cube. He said, if your house has no roof, it's flat roof, people will be dumb, he said. I was like, okay, flat roofs. Unfortunately, yeah, it's a very low slope. So everything is not because somebody decided or some dream or whatever. It's actually the structure of space itself. So that when the paramanu starts spinning, when you're spinning inside, when you think, so first it becomes an octagonal structure. So it was a cube, then it becomes octagon. Then it spins even faster, it becomes a sphere because of the spin. So a sphere is the last form of energy transforming into matter. That's why we cannot have a house which has in the base a circle. Sometimes people build only pyramids for meditation, or they basically build teepees, like with the round structure. Yeah? In Siberia, native people, they would have yurta, they call yurta, it's always cone, and then it's a circle. But they would move all the time based on where the deer goes, because they're basically like gypsies travel where the deer herds going, and they go with them. So that's why they built the structures according to their, I would say, way of life. So they were circles in the base. So they would not find peace in the structure. So that's why if you're sitting in a circular structure, you will not find peace. You would not, I would not recommend building houses like that. People do it nowadays. Like this hemisphere domes, yeah, geodesic domes, and they will give you many different explanations why it's good for you. But according to this ancient teachings, it is not good because this is a movement. Circle is a movement. So energy is moving. That's why we have houses with this pattern. So we have a square or rectangular, and then we have a roof, which could be 2 slopes or 4 slopes, which is a pyramid. So we allow energy to rest and then to arise to the conscious level and express itself. So then you have everything, cube and the pyramid. So it's alive, it's at peace, and at the same time you can express yourself. So if we have a flat roof, we can't express ourselves. We're actually getting a little bit depressed in these houses. So that's why I designed a little structure called Vimana. And just wanted to show you, I have Swami Sita sitting in Vimana. Let me just find it. So I think it's here. Yeah. So this is Swami Sita. Swami Sita let me bring Vimana, the structure. So what I did, I should share. Yes. Because I can share switch. Okay, so people online will see it in a second. So what I did, it's like a tent. So I thought anybody can buy a tent. Yeah, you don't have to build a house if you don't want to. So this structure has a cube and it has a pyramid. And you can put it in the, just basically you can travel with this. So what it allows you to have a deeper meditative state. So that's why here we couldn't, build a manna for everybody, but we could do it with a square, which is like a rug. That's why ancient times we used the hanging rugs. They would sit on the skin of a deer or in other animal, tiger, for example. So yeah, you can just make. So we're trying to switch to this Vimana video where it's on YouTube. So when I brought the structure here, people had very good experiences. And last time, even 2 people decided to purchase it, because what happens, first you walk in, you position it according to cardinal directions. Why it is important according to cardinal directions? Because it's actually streams of, or kind of like a rivers of energy going through space of consciousness. So if you align yourself with the river movement, then you're totally in sync. If you decide, you don't know about it, for example, you decide to sit under 45 degrees to the cardinal direction with your own face. Your face is your facade, like a building. Then you are not actually aligned with this. So your mandala inside, because you can build actually a mandala in your body. Because on the subtle level, you don't have like the structure. You're like a crystal. You have a crystal inside, and it has its own crystallic structure. So straight lines of consciousness. So if you align yourself, then you're good. And the house is the line. That's how you feel at peace. So if you have like the structure around, you always sit toward east. You find east because it's a fresh sun is coming. It's the beginning of the day. So you have a very fresh energy. Okay, so that's why Swami Sivananda, for example, in his book, How to Get Deep Sleep. I think it's slightly different title, but sound sleep, yes, how to get the sound sleep. He explained in detail that you should not sleep under any other direction. You should not sleep toward north, number 1. So this book I have, it has actually explanation of that. Like you shouldn't sleep under the slope. It should be flat when you sleep, so you have a second floor, or you sleep in the attic. So you need to be at peace. So when you are asleep, you need to have a flat surface above your head. Yeah, you shouldn't have anything moving. So if you're in an attic, you could have what we call it. You could build a bed for yourself, actually, according to this rational dimensions. I can calculate for you. Some people in Russia do that. So, and so what happens? You are totally aligned. You're in a space which is resonating with the divine consciousness, and it allows you to go in a deeper meditation state. So the rug, because why, you would say, why just a rug? What would it do to me? I have many rugs at home that doesn't do anything to me. But actually it does. So the pattern, even the colors and lines, it's energy. So if you look at that through the filter of the inner eye, you will see a glowing energy coming from every object. So if that object is built not according to the law of nature, of proportions, symmetry, it's asymmetrical, it has maybe a very connotation of sadness, like some artists do, killing of animals, hunters, all that stuff, or I would not recommend to place these images in your house because it will affect you, because that energy is coming out from you. That's why even a rug with beautiful design, symmetrical design, because symmetry is a part of nature. So symmetry is balance. And that's why it is important to know what images you're putting into your house. It's important where you sleep. So don't sleep with your head toward north because you lose energy. So your actual energy will be like kind of sucked out from you. But if you will put your pillow toward south, then you will be aligned with the energy flow, even with the electromagnetic field. So it is very important. All these things are described here. It's a small book. But if you would like to know deeper, there is a book called Sthapati Vedic. My guru basically wrote this book. It's very big. And I translated that into English because I mean into Russian, because a lot of people in Russia wanted to know that. So there are rules there. So basically, first, positioning your building on the planet Earth, which should be aligned with the axis of rotation of the planet, because the axis of rotation of the planet, no, not this one, video. I want to show you the video. I was asking you questions, why are you here? You're here because you're seeking for truth. That's why you're here. There's nothing else. So video online on YouTube. I think you could. With this, I want to show this. So I want to show that little video. Yeah, so anyway, so number one, positioning yourself, your house on the planet Earth. It should be aligned with cardinal directions with a slight shift of 2 degrees maybe. Yeah, it's just. And number two, we have to calculate the space which will resonate with you and with the universe to lift you up. That is important. Number three, layout of your building inside. Yeah, even your room is okay. Then you could actually find out the directions in your room. If you don't have a house, you have an apartment, or you're renting a room. It's okay because it's called fractals. So whatever is in the biggest space, mandala, a big mandala, it's the same mandala in the small space. So the same rules will apply. So for example, so if you're, let's say you have a room, yeah, that's all you have, then you look what is in the center of the room. If you have like a big heavy structure, that is not a good room to rent because you actually, this stream of consciousness is in the center of the space. House the same, it will apply the same. Here, we feel great in this space because there's no column in the center. So that is called Brahmastan, place of God, divine consciousness. So if we put columns, bathrooms, elevators in the big apartment buildings here, in the center of the building, we kill space, has no way to breathe. For example, Amazon now is building horrible building, and they may actually go down. Don't invest. Why? Because what they do, they design like this, like egg structure, and right in the center, they have this concrete reinforced column to support the whole structure because it's glass and concrete, and that's where they have a support element of the whole building. So actually, the killing the space. It should be empty. If you go to Four Seasons hotels, they're expensive, and people like to go there. We have a lot of atriums open greenhouse basically in the center. So you feel great. People sit there all the time. I went to it's a garden in Pennsylvania, Longwood Gardens. Okay, so DuPont was very wealthy guy, yeah? So he had 2 houses there, kind of, okay, not something bombastic. And he connected with by greenhouse and created like one space for living. So that greenhouse became his Brahmastan, or the life energy of the building. And it has so much light and you want to sit there. And they have actually found them. And somebody was smart enough not to put the fountain in the center because the water will absorb all the energy. So you should not put a fountain in the center as well, because the water is a life. And once you can put it on the side. So directions, proportions, and layout. So do not sleep in the southeast corner because that's fire. Especially for males is not good because your reproductive powers will decrease because the fire for guys in southeast is not good to sleep. No? For females, it's okay because we're Shaktis, we're moving, but still overall, it's best not to sleep in the southeast corner of your either room, if all you have or apartment, you check it out. Yeah? So now, where would you like to go? What is the best location to sleep? It is the southwest because that's Earth. 5 elements, they're heavy. They basically put us to sleep because Earth by itself has inside all 5 elements. Akasha, which is this consciousness, the pure consciousness, it has wind, it has fire, water, and earth. So that's why Earth is heavy. So now, next, so you sleep at the southwest woman. Guests, if they come, put them in the northwest corner because it's wind, so they will stay for some time and they go. If you put them in the Earth zone, they will stay longer and they will dictate your life. Okay, what to do. And kids the same. So check it out where your children sleep because they will feel ownership of the space because space gives them that energy. Okay, so now, in the office, home office for meditation, where you meditate, immediate puja room, it's a northeast corner. It's called water zone. Water zone. So the energy there, subtle energy, is so soft, so fluidy, supportive, because we have 8% of water when we're born. We have even more when we get older, 75% water. So we actually we're water in some sense. So you work at home, work at the northeast corner. If you have really like every day you work from home, face east with your desk. It's here actually. Why? Because there's fresh energy is coming in. So I always suggest to have skylights whenever it's possible because we're opening up the cosmic energy actually to come. And it just makes space so alive, so vibrant, so beautiful. And so the open floor plan is considered the best. So of course, yeah, you need to have space to sleep and things like that, right? But if you all you have, you would have a divider and just make sure you don't have anything in the center because the center is at the heart of the building of space itself. So it's very important. If you go to different cathedrals, you always can see that, yeah? They never put columns in the center. So you go, like I tested several different places, in France, I was in France, in St. Petersburg. St. Petersburg is a beautiful old city where there are a lot of cathedrals. So some of them, what they started doing, they don't allow you to stand in the Brahmastan, in the center of the cathedral. They just put a rope. I was like, oh, that's weird. So they want to keep it empty. But if you will be able to stand, you can go to any church. You don't have to belong to the denomination, but it's just like space. You could check the space. If you go to any cathedral, like better older cathedrals, not the new ones, because sometimes they're weird. And so you go to the old cathedrals and you see the dome, for example, structure. Yeah? You find that point and you stand there because the altar is further down. So you will be okay. And then you stand there in the center of the where the dome is. So find that center part, you always find because they have some little pigeon or something there that's a symbol of history. And you stay there facing the altar, and then you start feeling. And you would feel actually your head would kind of spin like this, and it pulls you up. That's how you would. Everybody has like sensations, but who is doing yoga, dieting, for example, because it sharpens our senses. Because whatever we put inside, you know, in ashram, we teach you that. Yes, your dieting is important. So if you are putting light food inside, if you do yoga, pranayama, you become very sharp with your senses. And so that is very important. And then you will have real sensations. Because for us living in a city, that's why we usually didn't want to do like serious pranayama in the cities because it's so polluted with negative thoughts of people with fear, being busy, stressed. And that's why it's very hard to purify yourself in the cities. That's why it's good to come here and to be able to merge with nature, because nature is growing according to natural law of divine consciousness. So you would always, I suggested, to hug big trees, because trees are in meditation, they don't move. They're standing 100 years, they're connecting cosmos and earth. So it's like energy, a beam is going through. You could hug the tree, stay here and just like hug the tree, and actually it will cleans up your energy, it will clean it up. So we finally we were able to.
It's not here.
It's not okay. So what else I would like to add about this construction and design? Colors, for example, they're not mentioned in Shastras, what color. So I asked Ganapati Sthapati, I said, what color should I be in walls? He said, madam, just use very light colors, pastel colors, just very light. But if you go with different shades of green, it's very purifying, because nature has, everything is green in nature, right? Because it's actually, if you think logically, because I am also an interior designer, so I can tell you that there's a color wheel for designers with colors, different colors. And green color is between hot and cold in the middle. So that is actually a medium for any kind of mood. So if you will have more greenish shades in your house, you will never go wrong. For example, here, yellow and that bright yellow, it actually, what does to you, it makes your mind more alert. So yellow color is more for alertness, and green color is more soothing, relaxation. Dark blue, blues, it's cool colors. They actually pacify your mind if somebody's stressed out, to no end after your work. So it's good to gaze in the blue sky or have some maybe ocean picture on your wall, something would be. If you feel depressed, but you have no energy, you have no desire to do something, then think about orange, terracotta colors. Because terracotta color is natural, it's like clay. So because if you bright orange, like when you see that is a bright orange color, it wakes you up. And you think about orange is a sun also, it's very bright color, basically it's like a magnet for people. And immediately look at that. But if you want to be like wake up, but not to be too over energized, so terracotta color is good. That's why in restaurants they use warm colors for walls, because people eat more. So there is psychology in everything. So colors are important, Materials for construction are very important. So it's, of course, it's best to use natural materials, wood, brick, less synthetic materials. Of course, it's easy, it's cheaper. We use a lot of synthetic materials, plastics, but it's basically it's not the best. So if you have a floor, it is good to have a wooden floor, from like parquet or some old wood, recycled wood is the best. And so because it's nature, it's natural, so the energy is there. So about materials, In ancient times, they would even calculate bricks to build the building. It was exact calculation to the energy. So bricks were not random, and so whatever standards we have now, they are not to divine proportions. So that's funny, but that's what it is. So even bricks are, according to this energy calculation. So what I do, I suggest people to measure the interior perimeter of the building, where we encapsulate space, and then we can control that. Because in ancient times, because brick is calculated, so it's good. So they would measure space perimeter of the building along the either exterior wall like this, or center line of your load bearing wall. So you can do that because they used bricks already calculated with stones. Everything was known, the dimension. So what is next interesting? For example, in India, people build temples and they install a deity. So we have here deities, different deities. People pray to them. It's a symbol of divine, different form. So they would use also the check on sound. For example, stone. If they use a metal, like a hammer, for example, if you hit a stone with metal hammer, you could hear either very deep, low sound, but it's deep and continuous. That is called feminine metal. It has a feminine energy. If you hit a rock, like a granite, for example, it has a very high pitched sound, also deep. That is called male rock. So it has a male quality. That's why from black granite, you will see a lot of male deities. And pedestal, like a lotus, for example, pedestal would be made from middle kind of energy. It has almost no sound. So they would use only for pedestals. So you cannot make a deity from this rock which has no sound, because it basically is very dull energy. But if in the modern times we would ask, why is it important? It's because the crystal structure of the mineral has its own inner dimensions and vibration is there. So in ancient times they would calculate even to the rock itself dimension of the basically acoustic resonance of the rock with divine energy of specific deity. Because if I look at the materials I have from my teacher, like there is a booklet called Ayurvedic calculations. So Ayurveda is basically Ayurvedic seeking for the source, if to translate it. So it's vibrational matching. So we match vibration of divine with your deity. So in the booklet, there are nakshatras or birth stars of different deities or emanations of divine. So it means that constellation actually dominates that specific frequency. So they would take that constellational energy, calculate into the dimensions of this rock, and to the in specific ratio or proportion to the vimana or sacred space of the temple. So if the deity is too small, it will not work well. If it's too big, like Brihadishvara temple in Thanjavur, in Tamil Nadu, it's a beautiful Shiva temple. But Dr. Sthapati told me, madam, my ancestors built this temple. It's very ancient, super beautiful temple under UNESCO because it's just really incredible. So one Maharaja donated so much money to basically the people would remember him. They built an amazing, huge Shiva Linga, which dominates this Garbhagriha, this sacred space. And Ganapati Sthapati told the Madam Nancy, because this Shiva Linga is too big for the space. It took almost all space, and space has no empty space, kind of empty is not really empty, it's not in the air, it's the divine energies in everything. So if you put it this big Shiva Linga, it actually has no space to vibrate. So it overwhelms the space and it's just like trying to hit the walls and it can't move. So it's very important to have proportions there. So it could be, should not be too big. So it's somebody's ego there. You wanted that huge Shiva Linga that he did it. So if you go to this temple, people go there. A lot of people go, but it feels like it's like more like a museum, something like that, because that Shiva Linga is just too big. And just doesn't allow. He said there was no Shiva Linga inside. They were worshiping through space. Because space is invisible Shiva Linga, huge. So if we put something physical for our consciousness to connect, and it's disproportionate, it's not going to work well for us. So that's why there is a whole science behind materials, colors, position, proportions, and we're not having random proportions as we are now. We have, as I mentioned earlier, like this sacred dimension is in golden ratio to our forehead. is involved in ratio to our palm, and the palm is involved in ratio to the arm. So we are having golden ratio in our body. Why? Because that's how energy is actually growing in space and expanding. So everything has that proportion. And because we use this proportion in the construction, it means we are in divine ratio of the space itself, the invisible structure. That's why houses, I call them houses of light, or living houses of life. So if we have random dimensions, we can bring misfortune to people. That's why some houses people cannot marry, or they have a house where the wall is crossing the Brahmastan, the central heart of the building, people get divorced. So they separate because the structure separates them. So they don't understand that sometimes animals take the karma. I have the situations like this, yeah? So people will say, oh, my dog died, another cat died, I don't know what is going on. They check the whole house and they see that the Brahmastan is basically obstructed. So it has no ability to breathe. So it's a very deep science. And so basically, I think I covered up the basics. So can we show? Okay, let's show. So this is Vinana. I asked, how do you feel swimming? She said, I really have very light. Very light. Very light. You like to put conscious listening. You just have to do the group or the group. And who is that? It's interesting. Even if they want to sit down, they have very smart. Raise your flights. Open up. Yeah, so actually. Feeling into your fingertips and so. And here, well, let's manage. So it's managed, and the rug is, you see rug. Today, let's turn it up. So see how distorted this information coming. It's okay. So let's turn off. So basically, even the rug has dimensions, and it had the sacred mandala of earth. So my mother actually invented rug. So this one, so this one. So every line has energy. And it's called Brahma Sutra. Sutra is line. So whenever children draw, you draw too. So that's why psychiatrists and psychologists, they ask sometimes, draw something, use colors, because they already know whatever we draw, whatever comes out from us is on the paper, they would actually identify what is happening with people. So actually, do not hesitate to draw, to design something with your pencil. Be like a child, because you need to unload your emotional stress into something on the paper, and it will come out. You can color. I have actually an interesting project. I have 10 minutes, and I'd like to share with you. I call it Angula. I was here last time and I shared with Sita. I had the presentation. So what I do, I have also here a diagram. Just think. Share this. So this screen, you will see in a second. So basically what I do, I thought, how can we explore our own energy? Yes. Just like this one. This one. Yeah, so this is called Kladny patterns. So what is Kladny pattern? It was 1870s, it was Ernst Kladny. He was a mathematician, and also he was a musician. He was from Germany. He was playing violin. He had a sugar plate and the tea or coffee, whatever he was drinking, and he noticed when he played music, sound, it actually started moving the pieces of sugar on his like a small sugar grains. Yeah, yeah. So this design, so that is specific frequency received. So I'll explain you what I'm doing. So I take envelope of a person and will measure. Then I order at the special metal shop a plate, metal plate square with your dimensions multiplied. And basically it's called Manduka Mandala. So I have a ratio, I take that, I order, and I get this plate, square, metal plate with your dimensions there. And it's cut with precision to millimeters because I use services of a laser cutting machine. So I get that. Then I have special equipment for the physics experiments. So I can actually measure frequency up to thousands of hertz. So what I do, I pass its electromagnetic signal gets converted into physical vibration of the plate, and it creates a design at specific frequency. It's called cladding pattern. So what is it? It's a resonance. So this is what we were talking about, creating resonance in the building. This is what happens. So this is physical sound. It has this specific pattern. It's called standing waves. So the sound was moving and it creates a beautiful geometric structure. You can call this yanta because I'm not going to in the yantras, even I would like to, because it's so interesting. So this is a symbol of sound energy. So it's a cross section of the structure of the sound. Sound is not wave like sinusoid, no. Sound is a bubble in our Earth atmosphere. So physical sound, it has a bubble and it has these channels inside. And if you have a cross section, which represents cross section, you will see the structure of sound. You can see this is nadi channels. You can say that it's a nadi channels actually exposed of that frequency. So I find your frequency. I find several new frequencies because what happens, I find resonant frequency for that plate with your dimensions, with your sacred envelope. And then from there, from these frequencies, I pick the most beautiful, which has symmetry and very beautiful proportions of design. So I know this is not a distorted type of energy. So that is a good frequency. I take that. Then I have some books about color therapy and sound therapy. So I basically go to my sources and I find what is the closest frequency, almost matching yours, and it will have a specific color. So then it means I will say to my client, okay, this color actually is your color of your frequency, in the frequency. So if you wear this color, if you have it on the wall somewhere, you have a shade of the lamp in that color, like lemon, sometimes green, sometimes red. So then actually it's beneficial for you to look at it or even wear. And then I find musical note also correlated to that. So you could listen to that. So what I do, I have students, they ask me about it. So I call it envelope project, envelope project. So when I received this planning patterns for them, I tell them, print it out and so trace this design. So when you're tracing this design of your own frequency, you are unconsciously establishing and strengthening your inner frequency, your biological frequency. And then you can color, and I have beautiful diagrams for my students. So we have this project. So the goal of this project is to collect so much data that to find some algorithms, what is happening to us, I would like to create an app actually, where we would help people to find their frequencies, their colors, and their musical notes to strengthen your body and your mind, because it's all interconnected. So it's really interesting. It took me 20 years before it dawned on me, but it happens to us, when we dig deeper in the scriptures, we find that how we actually can do something which will benefit people, not just theory, not only building a house, which is incredible actually. So if Mahalakshmi will allow me we will have a tour to her beautiful house built to this incredible teachings. So it's really beautiful. Maybe if somebody's staying here, we will ask her to just have a tour. So I really thank you all for this and appreciate your time. For me, this is the biggest gift I can receive. So much thank you. Because for me, if I can share my research, my search for truth, this is my seeking truth, this is my path, makes me super happy because anything else is just not as important as this. My husband said, I'm a Vaastu widower. No, but now he comes here sometimes, and so next time he will come.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful novice.
I have business cards here. If somebody wants, I have a website, and there is a link to my own website where I have a lot of information. If somebody wants, I have 8 books or so, and I have a boutique you guys can purchase. And if it's not enough, I will send to Ashram the books. Okay. It's very simple, but it's super beautiful and has a data. Yeah, thank you. Om Namah Shivaya.
How are you? Very nice.